Peace. Assalamu alaikum. What's up, everyone? I haven't done one of these car talks in a minute because I don't have the stand in my car anymore. I was just listening to a lecture by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and it was called The Tribe of Shabazz. I'll link it in here.
The black men here in America have not known anything about his history beyond 400 years ago, pardon me. And 400 years ago, he was brought here by the white man. And the white man deprived him of any knowledge beyond that particular time. He did not teach our people anything about their previous history, even about what we were in the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, and 11th century. He didn't teach us that, because that those slave masters was absolutely 100% together on depriving the slave of any greatness of his history. So therefore he left off, pardon me, all of his history up until his entrance into slavery. And that history we have.
Listening to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad reminded me why I am homeschooling my children. Why am I homeschooling my children? No, it's not because of COVID. No, it's not because I've taught before and I'm capable of doing it. No, it is not because I'm afraid that my children are going to be taught about the LGBTQ community in school. No, these are not the reasons. I've wanted to homeschool my children since long before I had children. Number one, because it ties into my purpose in life. However, also because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad reminded me in what he was saying that there is a higher knowledge out there that is not going to be taught in schools. There is a higher knowledge out there that the teachers in these schools don't even know exists or can exist. A few weeks ago, my family and I went to the Natural Museum of History in New York City. We, of course, were attracted to the African exhibit, the African history exhibit. And when we walked into that African history exhibit, they had caveman tools in there. They had tools at the start of the exhibit, as if to say, this is where the African history started, and the rest of what we saw is where it went. Being acquainted with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through the teachings of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I know that is completely untrue. I know that the type of technology that our people had in ancient times was way more technologically advanced than the car that I'm sitting in right now. We lost the knowledge of that history. What stuck out to me and what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in this lecture was that we, black people in the United States of America, he was explaining how we come from the tribe of Shabazz. And the tribe of Shabazz, there was a scientist that created our tribe 50,000 years ago. He said 50,000 years ago in history is when we were created, the black people in America today, those of us who survived enslavement. And he said, don't get too caught up on time. But he was explaining how in the United States of America and black people all around the world, we only know our history for 400 years ago in 1962, right? So he said we only know our history for 400 years, and we think that it starts with slavery because the white man, when he enslaved us, took away our history. Then that brought me back to the minister explaining how they took away our history when we were brought over here as slaves over 400 years ago. And that is the first shipment of black peoples that they brought over here to the United States of America and to the Americas, to the Caribbean, all around the Americas on this hemisphere of our planet Earth. They first had the first shipment of people killed off after they had babies, right? So they we, right, black women, we had to have babies after being stripped of our land, after being captured and brought over here. We had to have babies, and then they killed us and our husbands and our mates. They killed us so that we could not teach our babies. We could not teach our children. They didn't know us. Our children were raised by the slave masters. Our children were raised by these white people who told them who they are. Dang, that got me. Because we may know, oh yeah, for some reason I only know that about slavery. That's the starting point of history for black people in this United States educational system. And for some reason, that's all I know. But there's an actual science and an actual cause behind why we think this way, and also behind why we don't know our history. There was a very calculated and war tactic that white people took against the first black people who were brought over here in order to strip us of our culture, strip us of our language, strip us of our history, strip us of everything. That's why we're so attracted to Africa, because our brothers and sisters over there, they have a little bit of their history, right? They don't have 50,000 years ago. Some of them do, I'm sure. Some of the tribes that were not touched by European society. However, we only knew 400 years, but it's because of that calculated war tactic to have the first shipment of black people brought over here, have them to have babies, and then kill them off. So who was teaching the babies? And then those babies that were taught by white people, that were taught by those who enslaved us, then taught their children and their children, and all we knew was how to be the best slave. All we knew was how to survive. All we knew was how to have the fight. And that's not discontinuing or discounting the genetic knowledge that we have, because we definitely have genetic knowledge. But that is why it is so physically impactful when we hear the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because we have that genetic code within us that white people tried to write over, but they were unable to do so. They were unable to destroy the God, the creator, that essence within us. But this is why I have wanted to homeschool my children since before I had children. It is because we have a knowledge, genetic code within us that these schools and this school system is taught to stifle, is taught to keep down. When we go into the public school system, and private school system, because I was raised in private school, we're still being taught how to be the best slave. We're still being taught how to be submissive, how to function as a worker in America. And this is for beyond just black people. All people subject to the school system are taught to be servants to the elite, are taught to be servants to those who created the school system. And this is why I'm homeschooling my children, because I have been blessed and fortunate enough to come into the knowledge given to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by Master Fard Muhammad. And that is the knowledge that I want to go directly to my children. Why would I teach them anything different? You know, and so I'm in a position where I'm blessed to be able to actually homeschool. But I'm glad I listened to that lecture, because it is a beautiful reminder of what I am doing this for. I'm not doing it for me. I'm not doing it because I have some background in education. I'm doing it because there is a knowledge that I was fortunate enough to learn about through my mother, through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, through the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that I want my children to start from. I don't want it to be interrupted by any slave making education. Just wanted to share, because that's just wild that we only know 400 years of our history, but it's because our parents before them were killed. We don't even know who these people are. Man, let's not do that again to our children. Homeschool. Or if I'm unable to homeschool all the way too, we're blessed and fortunate enough to have a Muhammad University of Islam. We're blessed and fortunate enough to have a lot of independent schools started by people who have the knowledge that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought, and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught to the minister, and he continues to teach us today. So we have options, and they're online now. Shout out to COVID, because they did that. So, man, we're just blessed. We're blessed. I'm blessed. I wanted to share this, and I hope this brings love, light, and peace to your mind. If you have any questions about anything I said, let me know. And check out the clip. Peace.